Good morning. It's great to be here. I had an amazing middle school math teacher, Mr. Fraser, and he told us that learning is teaching, and that the first person that you teach is yourself, and the second person that you teach is your friend. And one goal of this Google X series is to foster order of magnitude, even multiple order of magnitude changes. And so I wanted to enlist your help today in thinking with me about how we can scale Mr. Fraser's insight. And in particular, I'd like to focus on doing this to learn creative skills. An increasing number of jobs are knowledge sector, creatively intensive jobs. And this is also a lot of what we do outside of work and in our own lives as well. And there's a huge amount of enthusiasm for this right now. It was amazing this morning to see the line snaked around the block to be able to get in. I'm not used to that at conferences that I go to. And there's a whole lot of people who don't have access to the creative and technical content that's available today. And we want lots of people to have these skills. Lots of people want these skills. How can we address this need at scale? Before becoming a cognitive and computer scientist, I was originally trained as a designer, and here you see a couple of design studios. The traditional design fields rely strongly on this studio model of education. It was founded in 1819 when the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris got going, and it's flourished and really grown over the last 2 centuries, I think because of the benefits of peer learning, the ability to see what your friends are working on, to be energized by critique. But this doesn't scale. I mean, this is the most high-touch teaching approach you can imagine. And so how would we do something at scale online? I think that in a lot of ways we can turn this problem into a solution. My colleague Jim Holland famously observed that the most exciting opportunities for online media are when you get to go beyond being there, as opposed to just making a poor facsimile of the real world. Do something that's different, that leverages the power of computation. So what we've been doing in my research group is we've been exploring ways that we can use the scale of massive online classes to be able to foster new kinds of peer interactions. And I'm going to share briefly a couple examples of this with you today. A couple of years ago, in collaboration with Coursera, we started to put my design class online. And we were thinking about, well, how would we have the project work be something that was available for all the students? And my colleague Ed Hutchins gave me the courage to use peer assessment and see if we could scale that up to a planet-scale class. He'd been using it for a couple hundred students really remarkably. And so Ed gave us the courage to build this out. And it worked remarkably well. The way that it works is that we have students first practice assessing their peers. This is a new technique and a new skill for them. By the way, it's also a really useful skill to have in addition to having the outcome of being able to grade assignments. So after we train you up on assessing your peers, you'll go out and get 5 randomly assigned assignments, one of which we know the score for so that we can check a ground truth. And at the end of it all, we have you self-assess your own work as well, which is it's valuable to learn to become your own critic. And what we found is that this works really well. More than 90% of the students in a pass-fail class, like a lot of these online classes, get the certificate that they deserve. Peers are a little bit lenient, so there are a couple of people who sneak in and get a certificate even though maybe they didn't do all of the work. There are, however, corner cases, and one reason that I'm excited to be here today is that I think things at scale, the corner cases scale too. And I wanted to think a little bit about what we can do there. And this has been used in more than 100 other online classes. In general, it works really well. And what we found is that it doesn't work automatically. You can find blog posts where people are really frustrated by having a wingnut grade their hard-wrought work. And what we've seen is that there are some strategies that are important for being able to do peer assessment well. And so we've worked a lot on being able to teach the teachers and being able to bake these into software. One of the things that's really fun is getting a score is nice and all, but it's valuable to be able to get some more personalized feedback. And for many of you out there who are teachers, you know that students always crave more personalized feedback. This is true even at the massive scale. And What we did is we realized that a lot of the feedback that we were seeing is variations on a theme. So we package up these fortune cookies, which codify common bits of feedback, and then students can customize those to give them to peers. A worry about these massive online classes, you may have tens or even hundreds of thousands of students who are taking these classes, and yet, maybe we're all alone together. Maybe it's just 100,000 people around the world staring at a laptop and having no engagement. And again, what makes design so exciting is that you have that opportunity to be in the studio with others. The community is really the most important part. And so what we did is we came up with this system called Talkabout, which leverages Google Hangouts to be able to offer many small group discussions in massive classes. We first rolled this out in Scott Plause's social psychology class, and students described the experience of being able to talk with peers as, wow, it's like a mini UN. We had an Australian in Dubai, an Afghan, a Romanian, an Indian, and myself, a Pakistani. And what we see is that not only do students feel really energized after participating in these discussions, and they're really cool to be able to sit in on, students who participate in a randomly controlled trial in a high diversity discussion condition actually performed better subsequently in the class than those that were in a low diversity condition. And so I think especially for domains like social psychology, seeing diverse perspectives can be a really powerful learning motivator. One reason that people are often surprised when I talk about being able to scale peer learning is that there's an intrinsic paradox. You're asking novices to do something that definitionally only experts can do. The reason that you're the teacher and not the student is that you have the ability to do the grading and create the content. And when we flip this and have more peer-focused efforts, I think that the key to making it work is creating micro-experts. And this is similar in spirit to the work that, for example, the Folded at Home protein folding folks have done, where you can train people up in a narrow domain and build useful skills as long as you design that experience very carefully. And so recently we've been exploring moving from a score-based approach, which actually requires a fair amount of expertise, to a more attribute or label-based approach. So what are the attributes of this assignment that you see here? And that works a lot better. And it discourages laziness as well, which is important in reducing those outlier wingnuts. Another thing that we can do is, although machine learning is not at the point yet, at least, where we can automatically grade creative assignments, it can help a lot. And so we've explored, because we have this large corpus of training data, we worked with Richard Socher and colleagues to be able to have an NLP-based system be one of the peer graders, or something that helps do triage on student submissions. And we found that by adding the structure, combining students do the label-based grading and then verify it, we can add a machine in to be able to reduce the overall workload and at the same time give people higher quality feedback. So the moonshot that I'm sharing with you today is, I think that we can use strategies like this. So far we've just scratched the surface to be able to in situ build practical theory with large-scale real-world experiments. And part of what enables this to be both possible and powerful is that with online education, one thing that I think hasn't been noticed enough is that you're baking a lot of pedagogy into software. And this makes it much easier to transform learning to other classes. If we come up with something really good in one class, by virtue of being in software, it automatically moves to the other one. And when I talk about theory here, I'm really inspired by the work of Kurt Lewin, who was a social psychologist of the last century, who said that the best way to understand something is to try and change it. And so to generalize this strategy, to exify this strategy, what we want to be able to do is, now that we have, with the power of lots of connected devices, the ability to run actual real controlled experiments, the kind of thing that we used to only be able to do in the lab, we can do that in the real world now. We can do those experiments toward goals that people really care about, and we can use that to bubble up theory, and this is the step that I think industry doesn't always need to do immediately, so it often gets left on the cutting room floor. We can bubble that up in a way that's reusable, that can help other people as well. So what we can offer here in this is we have some open source platforms at this URL here that have analytics and course materials and instructor resources as well. And your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to think with me today about how we might scale more personalized, mastery-oriented learning experiences to this new global community. I want to thank the ton of people who did all of this work. You can read more about it on my website or Twitter feed. And I hope that some of you will join the many students who are going to take the next run of the HCI class starting on June 30th. Thank you very much.